Welcome to episode 12 of the Twin Tail Studios podcast, which is the second episode on YouTube. So those of you watching on YouTube, welcome back. If you're listening to your favorite podcast provider, Apple, or are we on Spotify? I don't know, everything.
All of them. So, all of them. Feeds out to everywhere.
We will apologize in advance if we ever are using our hands to display something and we don't realize that not everybody's on the video. So we're still getting used to doing video and audio at the same time. So
and on topic too, I don't even know if we need to do a video because it seemed like a lot of people were like, "Oh, it looks good, but don't bother doing it every time."
Yeah,
so I don't know if people.
We're not ignoring that, but like maybe some people would prefer it on YouTube. I know for a fact I use YouTube for most of my viewing of things. Like I like to watch, news or, game stuff. Like I like to go to YouTube for my main source of information.
I watched a podcast last night too, and it was like just kind of one of those 4 quadrants where people were zooming in and doing a chat. But it's like that. I feel like that's pretty common. That's a pretty common format where people just do videos also. So don't bother watching if you don't want to. Yeah. But we'll be on video as well, just because we have it set up anyway.
We'll let you know if there's something that you need to see. It's important to watch on video. But yeah,
this is episode 12. 12, and then is there anything to talk about today?
Yeah, I got a few things to talk about. One thing we were hoping, we actually just got our demo kits approved at the printer, and they're actually on their way to us. We were hoping to have them to actually have something to show off on video, but we will have them sometime this week. Maybe even when this releases.
We might do back to back because we actually missed last week because we were like off through
holiday stuff.
So like we're actually delaying it, thinking we'd have our demo kits, but we'll be getting it soon, and then we might just do another episode when we get it, just to kind of show some stuff off. Might also have some kind of overlay stuff because I can probably film some of the like unboxing and we could show it edit into the podcast because I can do that now if I'm feeling up to it because I'm not writing a book right now, so might as well do something with my time, right?
Yes, and hopefully the cat will not attack me.
But we're talking about gaming on a budget today, right? We're talking about big crowdfunding campaigns versus little ones.
We can talk about anything. I had a couple topics in mind to discuss too, based off of my experiences in the last couple weeks. I guess first off is Bray and I got a game in of Blood Bowl over the new season. Get your foot off. Get your foot off of the stand.
Give me a footrest.
But you put your feet.
That was last time we talked about that.
No, that was when I pre-ordered it. Oh. We actually got it, and I gotta get a game in, and I loved it. Nothing new.
I'm not actually playing.
It's Blood Bowl, but it's got some rules streamlined, some things updated. They actually made passing more reliable for everybody, which is nice because we were throwing like crazy in our game. But first game, my Imperial Nobility beat the Halflings, so that was good. It was a close game though, down to the wire. The last turn, I scored the second touchdown to break the tie. It was fun.
I was robbed. That one pass I threw the Halfling. If he would have landed that, he would have just ran in and I would have won the game.
Yeah, it seemed like multiple times where his Halfling was literally one square away, even with rushing twice. Like he was one square away from getting a touchdown.
I think so. The
slow Halflings really saved me. But that also led to us getting a game in of Blitz Bowl. I was kind of going through my most recent edition of Blitz Bowl, and I was like, I kind of want to play this again. And yeah, it's a fun game. But every time I play Blitz Bowl, it just makes me want to play Blood Bowl.
If you ask our older brother, though, it's very complicated.
I was shocked because my daughter, I think she was 8 years old when she played Blitz Bowl, and she beat me. I wish she'd play more. She's kind of at that age where she doesn't want to play board games ever. But anyway, it kind of made me think about why it seems like the games I get most excited about, tabletop games, are one-on-one competitive games. It seems like that's what gets me excited about playing games, which is weird because we only design co-op games and like video games, stuff like that. I'm not a competitive person, but I think it might have to do with like how we got into games was mainly through Warhammer, and that kind of like set the tone of what I get excited about. Which might have to do something where I'm not as social as most people, so like I prefer one other opponent as opposed to a table full of people.
I think it's very simple, honestly. I think it's a simple thing of like, I don't know how to articulate it perfectly, but that light, did you turn that around? That was supposed to be
I did not.
Spin that around while I'm talking so it's facing you.
It's going to mess up everything
if it's not. And then I'll try to explain what I was saying is almost all solo co-op games have some sort of, AI processing, like on the, did you hit the, like players having to manage the opponent. So in the games where you don't have to do that, I feel like it's a little easier for you to get into the theme or whatever. So I think it's simple as that, where you don't have the upkeep involved. Because like even when we're playing Kill Team co-op and solo, I will admit, when I'm not running the enemy, I'm not feeling as engaged in that game as maybe you are, or if we're playing a one-on-one game, because I'm just waiting for you to update all the stuff,
I think it also goes to, there is obviously, it's more interesting where it's unpredictable. Like Kill Team's a good example where it's awesome that they introduced like solo co-op rules, like the joint ops. But I still, every time Brady wanted to play, I'm always kind of like, I kind of want to just play competitive, because it's kind of, I don't know, it's like unpredictable, and it's kind of cool to see how your faction plays against this other faction, different strategies. And obviously a human opponent is going to be more interesting than an AI, because
not always, not if you're playing against me.
Well, that's the other thing too, is like when you're designing a game with AI, you want the AI to be simple to run, because you don't want to bog the game down. But then again, it's simple becomes predictable. So there's lots of reasons why, but it is interesting to me how the games I get most excited about are just one-on-one competitive games. But I don't really ever design games like that. So
I was gonna say, we got Unmatched upstairs. We can play that one. Or some dice throwing.
For some reason, that one never like excited me.
I just got it's Ninja Turtles Adventures, the co-op solo one. It's really awesome. Good production.
Why is that cat so dumb, dude? I apologize for the shaking.
Yeah, there's a
cat's going nuts down here because we won't let him on our laps. But yeah, that was that. It also, I kind of get a little bummed out because I don't get to play enough Blood Bowl. I don't really want to go to like a game store to like join a league or something. So I rely on people coming to my house to play Blood Bowl. Luckily, Brady's got the halflings. I got a neighbor who's got a couple teams, which he's got to get a game with him soon. But again, it's also the downside because Blood Bowl just takes a long time to play. You need to carve out like 3 hours of game time to get a game in.
It's a slippery slope too, because if you have a theme like that, because I always think back like, if there's a game like that, but a little easier to play. I think back to that card game that like FFG did, the Blood Bowl Team Manager, which was like not gonna get the same kind of experience. Obviously, it's just taking that theme. So it's really hard to replicate the crunchiness and kind of like the simulation aspect of Blood Bowl. Like streamlining that, it seems like it loses a lot of it, even though the downside is the time it takes to play.
That's essentially Blitzball. Like Blitzball does take.
I think, and I get it. I think Blitzball's cool, but it, like you said before, you're playing it. It does not feel. It's not as like rewarding as Blood Bowl, and
it's the teams don't feel different enough. Like it's nice how simple the game is, where every team fits on a card, and Blitz Bowl Ultimate Second Edition, I think is what it's called. Technically, the most recent edition. It's only available through Barnes and Noble. If anybody is into Blood Bowl at all, I would highly recommend getting it. It's like $40 or something, but it comes with all 23 teams that were available in Blood Bowl at that time, which was during the second season. And you get all those team cards in the box, so you can play whatever team you want. And it's a very quick game, and it's fun. It's a fun little lightweight version of Blood Bowl. But again, it makes me want to play Blood Bowl, and it doesn't replace Blood Bowl. That's the downside, is that it's a great supplement to Blood Bowl. But anyway, that kind of got me thinking more about like, I've had this idea in the back of my mind for a while to do like a professional wrestling game, like some kind of simple little competitive one-on-one game, and I think that's kind of going to be the first one I tackle, I think. But yeah, that also it just kind of made me think more and more about the games I get excited about, and it's kind of strange how it's just different than the games you work on.
They always sit well. Like, for example, anybody who reads the Relic Myers series, if you read specifically book 2, this is not going to be like a spoiler because it's kind of a funny scene, but I think we talked about this before, there's a reference to this property in Relic Myers called Match Night Mayhem, which is kind of like a spin off of WWF Wars Raw. Is that what it was? Or Raw's War? I forget.
Raw's War.
One of those two. Or like whatever the Monday night wrestling shows were. I know WCW had Nitro or whatever. But it's kind of like that, where if we did something along those lines, it fits well. It's kind of like the Warhammer IP. Blood Bowl is sort of like this non-canon thing that sits inside the old world. We have a more canon side where like the Match Night Mayhem could be this kind of wrestling IP that sits within the Relic Myers universe, which a lot of things seem to fit in there pretty well because it's kind of that supernatural, retro, throwback stuff. Side note too, like this is kind of a tangent, but it's particular to retro or nostalgia. This is kind of touching on marketing, which I'm not very good at. I'm present on social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, Threads, which is the Meta Twitter replacement.
Isn't marketing your job here at this company?
Yeah, I'm the chief marketing officer. And I'm very I'm learning a lot about it. But anyway, I posted something randomly on Instagram when I was playing my brick hammer, which is for visual aids. If you're watching, this is the brick hammer, which here's a phone. This is my phone. This is how small it is. Really awesome device. But I was playing a Pokemon hack on it, a ROM hack called Pokemon Lazarus, which is really cool. It's an awesome little Pokemon hack somebody made. And I forget the creator. Sorry, I would have given him a shout out, but I forget the name. But I posted a picture of me playing it, and on my Threads, I didn't tag anyone or anything like that. I just posted the picture with saying how cool the game was, and I've gotten 800 likes and 30
because you weren't trying to sell something.
Yeah, because I'm not talking about myself or whatever. But and it's I don't know if it's because it's Pokemon, the name Pokemon was mentioned there, or just nostalgia or whatever. But it's man, it's a good thing we're doing a Game Boy game in Relic Myers, because then maybe that'll get some of that attraction.
Yeah, imagine living in a post-capitalistic society where you were just talking about things you were excited about and you weren't trying to sell people, and people could just engage with things you liked, and I made this cool thing, you can play it for free. But yeah, gotta sell some stuff to make a living. Which
I just thought that was interesting because it's kind of it's adjacent to a lot of stuff we do, but it'd be easier to market in that vein because it would sit so well. If, for example, next year if we have the Relic Myers game ready, it would be an awesome time to kind of throw that up. Say, hey, we're doing a ROM game too, not ROM hack. It's an original one. I just thought it was a funny little anecdote. But anyway, back to you're talking about competitive games.
Well, I was also talking about Blood Bowl, playing Blood Bowl, but also that kind of will go into the next thing I was going to talk about was there was this new Warhammer Quest, the one for pre-order last week or last Saturday or whatever. Last weekend. Isn't it? Well, that's what I'm saying. The things I get excited about. I get excited about Warhammer, which this is kind of when we're talking about, maybe analyzing why or whatever, but there was a pre-order for Warhammer Quest Darkwater, and those who aren't aware of it, it's like a Age of Sigmar. It's set in the Age of Sigmar, and it's just a new version of Warhammer Quest. They do these. This is the third one they've done. They did Silver Tower, and they did Shadows over Hammerhall, and now they all have different mechanics. They play differently. They're not just expansions or new versions of the old game. But anyway, this year was the 35th anniversary or 30th anniversary of Warhammer Quest 95, which is obviously the first one and the best one.
And they couldn't just do that for the anniversary.
Yeah. And people wanted them to reprint it, but they did this new Darkwater, and I pre-ordered it because I'm a sucker for Warhammer stuff, so I just get excited and I pre-order it. But I ended up canceling my pre-order after I watched I think it was Guerrilla Miniature Games do a review of it, and I watched one of his playthrough videos, and it's it reminded me of Blackstone Fortress, which I got really excited about that game. But they have these things where there are these cards you turn over every game, and it's there's events and encounters, and the encounters are skirmishes you fight in a little set up a battlefield and fight, and then there's events that are just these random things where it's stack dice as high as you can. If they fall over, really silly little games. I'm not interested.
They're mini games, but they don't explain them fully.
Yeah, there's little activities you do, and some of them are competitive or something where you're gambling or you're racing for things, and it's I don't care about that. I don't like it.
There was one example I want to mention that was it was about dealing out cards, and you go around the table and each person chooses one not to take or something, and it made no sense.
Yeah.
It's we could just pass these out randomly.
Yeah, it's you're working together. You might as well just decide as a group who gets what. But I don't like that, and it seemed like some of that stuff was in Darkwater as well. And also Darkwater just seemed like a game. It had this adventure book thing where map tiles in a book, which is pretty common these days. Ever since I think was Gloomhaven the Lion one the first product that really made that popular?
No, I think that was it was the stuffed fables that Plaid Hat did. They were like the ones that really, I don't know if it was like the first, but that was like the one that kind of,
I remember that one.
Yeah, Gloomhaven came out after that, so I think it kind of set the
it's nothing like, evolutionary, like, revolutionary, whatever, but
it is evolutionary, actually.
It's an evolution of it. It looked like a nice product. It was like $250 or whatever, and
I almost guarantee that book wouldn't have sat well, because
actually I was surprised when I watched the playthrough. It did sit pretty decently well. Like it didn't sit flat, like it kind of sat at an angle, but things would sit on just fine. But anyway, I was thinking more about it, and it's like I'm not excited about it at all. Like the gameplay wasn't that engaging to me. I wouldn't play it. And there's also this one thing about like Games Workshop, like they make really nice products. Their miniatures are fantastic, but one thing that I appreciate now in my older age, I guess, is storage is a huge thing. These Kickstarter games, like they come in these big boxes and things like that, but they have these nice miniatures, and they go in this tray, and everything fits in a box, and you can just put it away. Every time I get a Warhammer product, I have to assemble all the miniatures, which I actually enjoy doing to an extent, but I don't want to have to assemble miniatures for every game that I play, because I want to try it out. But yeah, you assemble these miniatures, and like in Darkwater, there are these. One of the characters is this woman who has like this sword, and she's holding it up, and there's just water swirling around her, and it's really intricate and delicate. It break very easily. So I have to like make room on my shelves for all these Warhammer miniatures that need to be separated, and then put the box away. And it's like sometimes I forget where things are. It's just I want a board game where everything just goes back in the box comfortably and safely, and you just don't get that with Games Workshop products. So that's another thing where I'm like, I was thinking to myself, we've talked about this in the past, where it's like I want to do a dungeon crawl someday. Like I would love to make our own version of what I would like a Warhammer Quest successor to be,
like next fall maybe.
But like Shadows of Brimstone is a good example. Like that's what I think when they wanted to make a Warhammer Quest successor, and people like it. I am guilty. I like it too. Again, it suffers from storage issue as well, where also play space issue. That game is a monster to play. But I would love to do my take on a Warhammer Quest successor. How we would do it, and I kind of wanted to like maybe talk about that, like how we would handle that. And I think one of the things I would definitely think about is storage, like that.
Yeah, make sure. I think everything we've worked on lately, like, because we weren't, when we did games, before the Mouse Light Adventures will be the first game we're producing ourselves, like publishing ourselves. So it's a lot of foresight into like what we want the packaging to look like and how we want the product to look. But we kind of touched on that when we first did Hour of Need, because I really pushed. I have a visual aid here if you're watching the video. I really pushed for this box size because I loved like Unmatched. It came in like a similar box as a rectangular one. This one has enough room in the box to have cards standing up with dividers. And then it has like the token wells and the miniatures over here. So this one was our first kind of like planned product thing.
And this is actually, we took inspiration from this when we were planning on the product for Mouse Light Adventures, how the box will fit together. Like it's going to follow that format a lot. We're using the same factory as well, which will help.
Most of our initial design discussions, like for example, right now we're working on a game that's going to be not a Twin Tail Studios game. We're partnering up with another publisher for a game. It might be like a partnership, we'll see. But that game design discussion is centered around how we want the game to look. How you open it up and put it on the table, like the table space, the footprint, all that stuff is kind of like what sets the framework for the actual design, because design can go any directions. Like having full creativity is not that useful, because you can just put whatever you want together and you can make it work. But if you have these confines, like these guardrails up, it makes you focus on your ideas and make them fit within that framework. So that's our first step right now, is we haven't actually gotten into like any kind of mechanical discussions or like anything beyond just what the theme is going to be, what the feeling of the game should be, and then like how the product's going to look, like what we want to aim for. And that might not be too uncommon. Maybe like lots of people do that. I don't get too many discussions about other game designers and their processes and stuff like that. So maybe that's pretty common. But
honestly, I'm not that interested in other people's.
Yeah. Well, I used to have this obsession where like when I think it's an insecurity thing, because when I first got into writing, I would just like constantly research other authors and figure out how do they write, what's their process, like what do they do when they get up in the morning. I wanted to know all these details about how they got things done, and I think it just came from a place of insecurity, just because I didn't know what I was doing, so I needed some framework.
Yeah, you need some kind of like vision to follow.
But when we started designing games, we kind of just accidentally did it. So like we never even had a conscious decision about like, how does anybody else do this? Because it was more just like, well, let's get this out. We have a contract on our lap. We better design a game and get it out the door. So
yeah, a lot of times a lot of our games have been under pressure of a contract, which is unfortunate, where it's like, we have some deadline, and we don't like I said, we've hardly ever pitched a game to somebody. It's always kind of like we've signed a contract to do some game.
I think this is the first game we've ever done right now that's kind of just like on our own accord.
Yeah, we just designed this game without even knowing what we were doing with it. We were just like, let's just design a game and then
figure out
maybe sell it, maybe do it ourselves. And we decided obviously to just do it ourselves, because we've gone down the other path several times.
And I'm saying this because if you're watching the video, if you're not watching the video, I'm pointing to the Mouse Life Adventures, our upcoming game.
Now, some people might think when I talk about like a dungeon crawl that I would do, they might think, well, you did that with Alter Quest, and Alter Quest is not what I would do if I could do a dungeon crawl. Like, there were certain things that I wanted to do with Alter Quest. One thing I did not want to do, I did not want to do an MDS game with it. I was talked into that, to do that, and we did the best we could with that, but it was mainly because with Blacklist games, like all of our games were MDS games, so it's like let's just keep doing that. And I didn't want to at the time, but I kind of like agreed that it made sense. And there were elements of Alter Quest I really liked. I liked the Alter Dice. I liked the way we did features and things like that, like where the features had a card with an effect and stuff like that. It was really cool. But the game turned into like a fiddly tracking all these different cards, and
too many cards in
play. The play space was unwieldy.
It just could have benefited a lot from more development. And honestly, in that one, I didn't do as much of the initial upfront design side of things. So we were kind of, you had a vision of what you wanted to do, and I was like, all right, well, put together what you think it should be, because I couldn't get my head.
It was just a bunch of, what do you call it when you concede concessions for things, to get the product done, because
it's a miracle that it came out. Like, people like Secret Cabal still loves it. They talk about Jamie and Don on Secret Cabal, they rave about the game, and I'm glad they enjoy it. They called me one time because they were playing with Rodney Smith and they had a question or something. I'm like, I don't know, I haven't played that game in like 2 years.
Yeah, we haven't played that game since it came out. Like we move on to other games, and we hardly ever play the games we release. It was kind of rare. We came back and played Our Read recently when we were just debating whether or not to purchase it. And after playing one game, I'm like, yeah, this game is still fun.
It needs to be on the market. Yeah. It needs to be out there.
So that Alter Quest is not a good example of what I would want to do as a dungeon crawl. I would want to do something very inspired by Warhammer Quest 95, and that is like one element that I would love to incorporate would be that roleplay book. Like I love books that you can go and read outside of the game and like study about it. But the game is still simple. So it's kind of like an extra layer on the game, where Warhammer Quest 95 was a game you could pull out of the box, and it was so simple you could play right away, but you're just playing the basic game. And then you could start adding in these layers of, okay, you can play the advanced game, and then you could play the roleplay book, which is like even more layers of things where you go to town, all these events, you can basically turn it into a role-playing game. It is awesome. And it had like 10 tables of bestiary tables where you can go 10 levels of monsters and utilize all the Warhammer miniatures. So I would love to do a game like that where we would, have this big base box of like the core experience, and then there's this book in there that could expand it, and then we would release monster miniature packs that had like new little quest books or whatever that, here's the goblin box, and there's a box of goblin miniatures, maybe a new hero miniature or whatever, and then like a book or a deck of quests or whatever that you can go that are themed to the goblins. But all of it would be, in this nice book, like this really cool like role-play book. I think that would be awesome.
The weird thing about the product line of that because I don't know, I'm new as a publisher. Like, this is our first publishing company. We've contributed to like product planning and stuff. So, but like when it comes to actual sales and figures and stuff like that, so this will be a new experience for us. So like, maybe I'm naive in this way, but I'm shocked there aren't more companies that base their entire company or their entire business model around something like a Warhammer Quest, because that game, you have all these rules for miniatures that players have to go buy if they want to incorporate them into the game. You know, they have like a big list, this big bestiary of all the different monsters you can encounter, but you're limited by your collection. So you got to go expand your collection if you want to have bigger adventures with your rule set. So it's weird that there are not more companies that rely. I don't know, like you mentioned before, Flying Frog. That is their whole business.
I mean, yeah, Shadows of Brimstone has turned into like their whole business. Like, it seems like I went to their booth at Gen Con, and I think 90% of it was just Shadows of Brimstone.
But even then, like they treat it more like a board game. You know, they just have the board game with all these expansions. But if GW, who makes their business off just making models, like we talked about Kill Team, I can't get the Kill Team box I want to get because the Warhammer 40K players are buying them for the models, and they probably just toss the
honestly it killed all the enthusiasm we had for Kill Team. It's just that most recent expansion is just impossible to find.
So you figure, like, if GW got their act together on their specialty games, and they made a new Warhammer Quest that was expansive, like all of the different characters and monsters and stuff, like that's just fuel for people to go buy those miniatures, you know.
I mean, when Old World came out, they did those big huge battalion boxes of all those old miniatures, and they were just repackaged of those old 90s miniatures. I bought them all. Like, I bought a whole entire Orc and Goblin warband just because I wanted those for Warhammer Quest. So like that was like $100 of miniatures that I'm never going to play the Old World, the war game, because I just don't play big old rank and flake miniature games anymore. But I'm buying all those miniatures because of Warhammer Quest. And that's not even in print anymore. You know, that's something where I have to rely on Little Monk, who is awesome. He keeps that game alive with all this new content he does, and he does these print runs of cards and books and stuff like that, where I've spent so much money on those. I swear one of these days we're going to have to talk to Little Monk and see if he wants to just do a new role-playing game or a new Dungeon Crawl game with us. And basically just, hey, let's recreate Warhammer Quest in our own setting. But
settings, I think it needs to be a universal system. Like, that's something that would be key for me, because I love fantasy. Obviously, we are big fantasy nuts, and fantasy is great for dungeon crawling. But I would love a system that could be utilized. They wouldn't have to mix and match, but you could go to a, like, for example, we had the Relic Myers adventure game, and we made. This is future tense. Then you could know that system. You go into it, you know how to play. You know this content. You can go to use that same experience and go play the Malice Light version, and it's like the same rules. And if you wanted, you could like combine things if you wanted to mix and match and get anachronistic with it, but it wouldn't be needed. It's like, it's more just a universal system that could accommodate all those different themes. And
it was expanding. It was interesting because after I canceled my pre-order for Warhammer Quest Darkwater, I saw Guerrilla Miniature Games, as she posted a video on YouTube that was like, why can't Games Workshop do a new Quest 95, and he had 3 big reasons that he expanded upon, and I hate to say I didn't really agree with them.
Let's do a clickbait on this one and make it so it's like a response to that. It's a clickbait, like a big one of those big like bolded fonts.
It's not like I disagreed entirely with everything he was saying, but like some of the premises I feel like weren't. I didn't agree with the premises because I visited I visited Games Workshop headquarters back when I was at FFG, working on, I think it was the Relic, 40K Relic Talisman game. I forget what was that called? Was it called Relic?
Yeah, just Relic.
And there was some licensing meeting we had to go to, and so my manager asked if I can go, and I said, heck yeah, I'd go. I'll go to England. So I visited their headquarters, and I was actually talking to them about Warhammer Quest, because I was like, you guys got to redo Warhammer Quest. And I don't think it, like, that one of his comments was like logistical, is like Warhammer Quest 95 could utilize all these old miniatures, how they're packaged and stuff like that, and they're not packaged that way anymore. And I don't agree with that, because the miniature line evolves all the time at Games Workshop, but a lot of times they just refresh models where it's like, oh, let's get these new versions of Tyranids out there. But like you could still use those rules for those miniatures, and they don't have to be like a 1-for-1 ratio. They don't have to have the exact count in the rule book. People are going to buy a box of miniatures to represent that in the game. It would be an easy way for them to sell miniatures.
I think what it comes down to is just, I mean, the bottom line is they don't have any reason to. Like, they're making
yeah, I mean, Games Workshop will anything they do, they're going to sell out. Yeah. Like, they're going to sell. So even the Darkwater, I'm sure Darkwater sold like crazy for them. Maybe not as much as like if they did an Old World, like if they did a 95 Old World reprint, it would probably sell more than all these other games, I think. And another thing that Ash said was that like the generation change, where like people didn't, like he said, people that designed Warhammer Quest 95 grew up with pen and paper RPGs, and the people that are designing now at Games Workshop grew up with like video games and penny arcade, things like that, which I feel like more people nowadays play pen and paper RPGs.
Like, tabletop role playing has never been more popular.
Yeah,
I didn't grow up in the 70s. I know it was a big deal in the 70s and 80s, but I still feel like even looking back, I don't think it's ever been at the peak it is now, where with a Critical Role, it's a mainstream, it's like, it's never been mainstream.
And I feel like nostalgia is huge these days in retro stuff, especially with like Stranger Things like that, where the inspiration is there. I'm sure people would love to do, a new version of like that game if they were allowed to, if the business heads of sales or whatever decide what product they're doing. If they said, hey, do a new version of Warhammer Quest 95, I'm sure the studio people there would be thrilled to do that.
I think if we make enough noise when we do a Relic Myers game, and it's going to be an adventure game in the fall, our plans always change obviously, but right now I think we're pretty gung-ho about making a Relic Myers throwback adventure game, miniatures and its dungeon crawl aspects. We'll do it in a model that's similar enough to the Warhammer Quest 95, and it'll be big enough because you guys will help make it big enough that we can make like GW be like, man, maybe we should do Old World like that.
The other thing that I found not only did I disagree with, but I found kind of humorous, was Ash said that they didn't have the manpower in the studio to write such a big book like the Warhammer Quest 95 roleplay book, to write that and play test it. I'm like, I gotta say that as a game developer, if you think the Warhammer Quest, if you think that roleplay book was play tested fully, like it's not at all. Like, that game is so unbalanced, and people that design it knew that you can't play test every variation of stuff. So it's like that was written with fun in mind. Like, they just wanted to have a fun role play, like crazy things happening. The whole thing about Warhammer Quest was just like you could die right away. Like, it's not a balanced game. It's just crazy things happening. And also, as far as writing goes, Games Workshop writes so many books. Like, if you go buy, if you buy the Blood Bowl rulebook, there's so much content there. Like, there's story for a football game. Like, they write stuff all the time. Yeah, so they I don't think there's a manpower issue at all.
Yeah, they could also outsource that stuff over the course, because they probably wouldn't do it all at once. It'd probably be like a periodic thing where they kind of parse it out, because I think that back then they probably realized their mistake of putting all their eggs in that basket and like putting all that content right away. You could easily just parse that out over the course of time, like add supplements, and they'd find a way to do it if people bought it, and people would buy it. It's just a matter of whether or not they need to have more revenue, because they probably have plenty.
Yeah. So that being said, the manpower is there, but again, there's probably decisions about like which products they want to prioritize and things like that. We don't want to spend this much time on a Warhammer Quest game. Let's get this done in a certain amount of time, put it out, and move on to the next thing. And not because if they did a Warhammer Quest 95, I think that they would probably put themselves in a situation where they would have to support it with more products, because it would sell so well, and they would also have those expectations where like, oh, you're going to redo Warhammer Quest 95, I want the Lair of the Orc Lord expansion, I want the I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on the undead one, but the undead
Keller's Keep.
No, that's Hero Quest. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank, but there was an undead expansion, and then
was it Khemri theme, or was it?
No, it was like God, what was it called? Lair of the Orc Lord, and it is weird because I have it. I had the book at home, but yeah, it's gonna bug me now. I'm drawing a blank.
If only you had a device in your hand.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do that right now. I'm not gonna research it. I'll embarrass myself.
You could just ask out loud, and it'll tell you.
Siri.
That's not now she's gonna get shy.
What's the undead expansion for Warhammer Quest called? The Undead Horde.
Was that it?
I don't.
That
does not sound right at all. But anyway,
so that's.
But anyway, yeah, I think that would kind of set this expectation where they're got to redo all this stuff. But again, I talk about Warhammer Quest 95 like it's like this great game. I know that it's an old game from a different era, and it has lots of flaws,
and it's objectively bad.
Some people think so. Like, if somebody has a game and they have fun with it, like I have arguments with Bray all the time where like, I don't know that you can call these games bad if they work. Like, that game works. Like, you can put it on the table and you can play it. You can if you read the rules, you understand how to play it. It's a game and it works. I don't think it's a bad game.
I don't hold the opinion of like that it's bad for everybody. Like, but as a game designer, you sometimes have to have some sort of like gauge where it's like, this is bad game design, and it's like not insulting. It's just like I feel like there's lack of foresight in certain things, but. I'm not saying that I think that about that. I'm just saying that like I can make those statements sometimes. I won't do it for that one because I haven't played it enough. You played much more.
I have opinions about games that are bad that aren't actually bad, but I'll say they're bad because I don't like them. So like I'm guilty of that as well. But I try not to have that opinion where if there's a game that works and somebody can have fun with it, it's not a bad game. It's just not for you. And Warhammer Quest 95 is a game that I see the flaws as I'm playing it, but I still have fun with it. And I still want to have fun with it. There was also some comment that someone put on that video that I kind of bothered me a little bit, where he said that the only reason people like Warhammer Quest 95 is because they want to feel like they're 12 years old again. And you can't recreate that. So it's never going to happen. And I find that to be ridiculous because I didn't play that game when I played that game when I was like in my 20s or something. And I don't want to recreate that feeling of being in my 20s again. Yeah. I just want to play that game again.
I mean, it's just
Shadows of Brimstone is a great example of it. Like that, that Shadows of Brimstone is the same kind of game, and people still love it.
Yeah, so there's an objective void in the industry because like people will always say, "Oh, there's plenty of dungeon crawl games." There's not. Like there's dungeon crawling can be like a wide genre, but there's not a lot of just like classic fantasy, just traditional fantasy. Scalable dungeon crawls. It's like there's a handful, there's some good ones, but it's not as bloated as people think it is, or like as people claim it is, because there's just all these different like kind of different takes on it. But it's like there's no Warhammer Quest 95 really. I mean there was Shadows of Brimstone, but it's kind of a different.
There was also a company that tried to recreate it, the Darklight Memento Mori, which literally
also was a weird theme though.
Yeah, like but it felt like it was trying to literally be exactly Warhammer Quest. But yeah, there's still an audience for that, and it's not just people that grew up that were 12 years old when Warhammer Quest came out. Like there's people of all ages that would enjoy games like that. It's got that role playing feel to it, where it's like, okay, let's just play a role playing game where we're just doing the combat, and there's no game master that has to prepare anything. There's an appeal there. So.
Yeah, it's a shame too because there's another recent game that we picked up. Actually, I don't know how recent. It might have been a few years ago. The Dungeon Saga refresh they did, Mantic Games did.
Yeah.
And like, I think expert level packaging, like amazing looking packaging. The product looked awesome.
It looked like that old D&D from the 80s or whatever.
Supplements and I think that's great. Unfortunately, I don't feel like the gameplay hit with us at all. Like, I mean, it's fine, it's functional.
The co-op is like procedural.
Yeah.
It was.
And that's what I was looking forward to most. I mean, I don't really need another like GM style like one versus many.
That's a great example because the last edition of it had this advanced player's handbook, which made it like feel so much cooler. And if that new edition had that, I'd probably be way more motivated to play it.
I feel like it didn't get as much as what development as it needed, but I mean, I think that also just like because people always have this kind of negative connotation about like nostalgia or like retro stuff because it's like it's a cheap way to appeal, and in a way that works because like for Dungeon Saga, I probably bought that because of the branding. It looked really cool and it just spoke to me, and then it didn't deliver. But I still want to have it. I still want to have that box on my shelf. I'll break it out and look at it, and I might play it more someday. I don't know, but
we should try that again sometime. Just because I'm curious, because I totally forget what it played like.
Yeah, we did it like a one learning game. So, but like I think about when we do the Relic Myers game, I want to have that same kind of branding. I want to seem like this kind of 1990s thing you find in the basement of your house. Like, oh, I forgot I had this game, and break it out. So I want it to have that kind of packaging, like a VHS cassette, packaging. And then, I mean, that kind of goes into with, like I mentioned before, the packaging with like Final Girl. It's kind of like this VHS horror movie thing, and I play that game solely for the setup and teardown, really, because it's just it's a really cool product, and it's really well produced. Gameplay could, I could give or take. The gameplay doesn't matter to me as much at all as the product itself. So like when we do the planning for the Relic Myers game, I think it's going to be the mechanical what do you call it, like freedom, I guess, of like Warhammer Quest, like the exploration, the discovery, but then like the consolidation and modularity and conciseness of like modern packaging. So it's easier to set up, tear down, easier to break out, easier to combine products. It's not just a mess of stuff you have to sort through all the time. That's important for me.
So I think that's one of the huge things about Shadows of Brimstone that I don't play it anymore. Like storage is a huge thing, but also like, so Shadows of Brimstone did the whole assembler miniatures type things Warhammer does, where I think if Shadows of Brimstone would have just done, regular plastic miniatures in a tray with easier storage, I would play it a lot more. But also I think something that I would want to do in a dungeon crawl is that to abstract the hallway parts. So like there's like a hallway tile where you position your miniatures and you draw events going through the hallway. Some things, you might trigger traps or whatever, depending on where your guys place in the hallway. And then if you come across a room, you get that room tile out and you fight a battle. Now, it'd be really cool. Yeah, you continue, but really cool, like in Shadows of Brimstone, where every expansion had a different theme for their other world, a different combat tile and hallway. So like those are the tiles. It's like you have the hallway tile, you have the combat tile. And that would be like really, you would get that exploration, because I love exploration in dungeon crawls. It's fun to see what you find.
No, I think it's important because I wouldn't want to lose that either, but I do hate the tactical simulation of exploration. But like taking one step further, my concept for it would be, I don't like adventure books with spiral bound when you play on them, but I do love the idea of, I'm going to go explore this location. That location's on page 10. You open up page 10, here's a overhead map, like a mini map in a video game of the location, and then here's like the rules on this side, or like the different whatever mechanical things you need to know. You put that there, and you have little, your tokens that represent where you're exploring. You just mark it on this map, and then anytime you have encounters, you have an actual like a tile, like a one of our popular MDS style encounter tiles. That's how I would want to do it, because it captures both of those things cleanly, and like it also just adds more mechanical freedom and the elegance, because you can get all that all those events and everything in a more concise manner or format. And
yeah, because I will say that as much as I love dungeon crawls where I like to see like what you discover along the way and like how the dungeon plays out, I don't get a lot of benefit from laying out these tiles visually and then you have to take them apart as you go. There's this disconnect where it just interrupts the flow of the game, and it doesn't have much benefit, because once you go to a tile and go to the next one, it doesn't, like, the tile doesn't mean anything. And all these, I think Shadows of Brimstone is that all these different tiles, different shapes and things like that, they don't add anything to me. Like, the art does add to the immersion, yes. So like, I would love to put the tile out for a battle, or have a tile for the hallway to represent this is what you're doing, but I don't need to see every single shape that you explore through and take up the entire table and slow down the game. It doesn't really add enough to the game for me to warrant having those, and so that's one of the reasons it doesn't hit the table that much.
Yeah, it also like, you have to balance out the payoff versus potential frustrations, because when you're like Shadows of Brimstone's a great example, because it's more recent. Like, we played a lot recently. You have those maps you're laying out, but if you hit a dead end, you have to go backtracking. Like, there's a tedium there that's just, the level of frustration doesn't really equate the payoff you would get if the thematic payoff, if you hit the right corner. But if you abstracted that, you hit a dead end, like, that's interesting thematically, but you don't have that frustration of having to like manually backtrack, go number,
especially when you're rolling for movement.
Yeah, the roll for movement really adds another level of frustration.
Well, I mean, there's that thing where it's like in Shadows of Brimstone, when you're moving around, like, the only thing you can really do is I can search, or I can search, or I cannot search. So like, it'd be kind of cool to have abstract that more. They give you more choices to do, where it's not just like, okay, well, I rolled and I search. But going back real quick to Mantic, I don't understand why they will never do things we want them to do. Like, as far as, like Dungeon Saga, but also Vanguard. Like, why are they not done something with Kings of War Vanguard? Like, since they're not doing Walking Dead anymore, right? Did they lose it?
Well, they got it back for like because they did like this expansion but I'm not sure if that goes beyond that or not. So
I would love for them to treat Kings of War like they do with their Walking Dead. Like, do these little boxes for Vanguard, like little skirmish packs or whatever, and support that game line with cool, like, nice chunky miniatures like you did more in Walking Dead, because those miniatures were the best miniatures Mantic ever did. I think I like that style.
that product line is, I mean, I still use the miniatures for like my other zombie games, but it's also just a really cool product line. I loved the supplements, and Mark wrote really cool expansions for it, and cool game line for sure.
So was there anything else I wanted to cover with Dungeon Crawl stuff?
Cause you went on a while about Dungeon Crawls.
Yeah, because like Brady said, people always say there are tons of dungeon crawls out there, but there's not. Like,
it's the same with video games. People say there's so many fantasy video games. Like, really, not as much. Like, there's plenty, I think. But I mean, I wouldn't say plenty for me, because there's not enough like traditional high fantasy, the fantasy I want, like Witcher style fantasy. Witcher's good, but they don't explore enough of the world. It's always just like, let's follow a Witcher around.
Speaking of which, we just found out somehow late the D&D live service game that Project Baxter was it Starbreeze Studios. They did Payday or whatever. They were working on this D&D live service game called Project Baxter, which is like a third-person co-op D&D themed open world game, and we were like super excited about that.
Third person?
It was third person, yes.
No, I make sure you said it just now.
Yeah, third person co-op. And it's like the one game where like, okay, good, there's something to look forward to for in the fantasy co-op realm or whatever, and then it just got canceled in October, which I can't believe I didn't hear about that.
It's weird that I didn't catch the news. It's also even weirder because it was supposed to release next year, so it's like they didn't have anything to say about it except for like, it's not coming out next year because it's canceled.
It is depressing what's been happening in the video game industry. It sucks because like we got friends who work in the video game industry, and
luckily they're still there. They still have their jobs, but most people don't, because there's always layoffs going off constantly. And
like we've both considered working video games in our history. Like when I got into coding and stuff like that, I started working at I think I've talked about this in the podcast where I was learning Unreal and kind of getting into video game development, and I still enjoy it. It's fun, but I don't think I could ever try to pursue video games as a career, because it's just so, the industry just seems terrible right now.
Yeah, so. with the project we're working on with Robert Doman, the Relic video game, which will hopefully be part of our big Relic Myers extravaganza in the fall next year for Halloween, just in time for Halloween. It'll be the board game, the Game Boy game, and then the book 3, which I need to start writing soon. But the promise of doing that on a smaller scale is so much more intriguing to me than like getting a job in the video game industry, because like I do think there's going to be this drastic shift pretty soon, honestly, with like the Steam announcement. They're doing the Steam what's it called, Steam Machine. And like I've mentioned before, like I'll visual aid if you're watching YouTube, but I'm obsessed with these devices. I have my Mod Retro Chromatic and then my Brick Hammer, and I'm waiting for my AYN Thor, which is like the 3DS like dual screen device. These are like emulation. This one's an actual Game Boy that runs on cartridges, but this is an emulation device that runs on SD cards. But there's a lot of companies who are just making these devices, and there's like a lot of handhelds coming out lately, which is great for me because I'm a big handheld guy. But with the Steam Machine thing, there's a lot of these devices that can pretty much become like Steam Decks, because that whatever the specs behind the Steam hardware, like the Steam Deck and the Steam Machine, people can replicate and run the Steam OS. They can make it like, put Steam OS on your device, and you can have anything be your Steam Deck. And I think it's going to be more common, where like these third-party devices are going to be something people just pick and choose what they want to play their games on, and they put Steam OS on there, and that's their device. So it's less of a stranglehold on these companies that have consoles and try to get exclusives and try to mandate the market. And it's going to be just a bunch of smaller studios, hopefully making games for people to play on whatever devices they want. So hopefully we can get in on kind of the ground floor of that, because we'll be doing a small scale game, video game, but yeah, maybe we can expand it. Maybe we can do more video games.
We'd love to do video games someday, but not like be a traditional video game studio, but maybe just partner with other developers and be like, hey, let's do a game in the Mouse Light. Do a little video game.
Yeah, I love the concept of like indie games having more of a say in the industry, having a more of a hold on the market share, whatever you call it. Just it's not just these big, huge AAA studios who are calling the shots and getting laid off in the process because the executives didn't get enough bonuses that year or whatever.
Speaking of video games, the Video Game Awards are coming up.
Yeah.
Or is it the Video Game Awards? Because there's so many like shows. It's
Video Game Awards, which is this comes out on Tuesday, so it'll be
Thursday the 11th. Now, I play Diablo 4 every season. When the new season comes out, I just play it just to go back to it. I have problems with it, but I still enjoy playing it. It's fun. But I've been waiting for the Paladin / Crusader or something ever since that game launched, because there's no class I want to play, which sucks. But there's been lots of rumors about the second expansion going to be releasing the Paladin as part of that expansion. But they're going to be revealing. So normally the season starts like at noon or whatever day it launches. But season 11 is set to launch on the 11th, which is the night of the Game Awards. And I guess Blizzard said specifically, hey, watch the Game Awards. But the season isn't going live until 11:30 p.m., which is very strange for them. That never happens because it's a terrible time for everybody for the season to go live. But they said, make sure you watch the Game Awards. And now it's been pretty well predicted that there's going to be a reveal for the expansion at the Game Awards. But that expansion is not going to drop. It's likely not going to drop with season 11. That would be crazy. But there's this kind of rumor or like expectation that there's going to be a Paladin drop where so this season 11 is called the Season of Divine Intervention, but it features Asmodon and some other updates, but there's nothing like divine really. Like I guess there's an angel coming to help you, but everybody's like, this is perfect, makes perfect sense for Paladin to just come and help take out Asmodon.
Oh, I thought it would be perfect for Halfling to come in.
But there was also I think I was watching Riker talk about this. He called out a picture of one of the cosmetics that are available as a reward in season 11, which is a flail. And there's flails are not weapons in Diablo 4 right now. However, if the Crusader / Paladin came into the game, that would be their weapon of choice. So it's like all these little Easter eggs thinking like, okay, well, they're going to probably announce this expansion at the Game Awards, Diablo 4 second expansion. And if you pre-order it, you can play the Paladin right away. And if that's true, I'm definitely going to pre-order. I'm sure lots of people will. That'd be really awesome.
Would they? I don't think they would do it, but was there any possibility they would do this? They would delay just to announce it because there's stuff in the season that hints at it, and they don't want to have it. They want to have official announcement before people see those spoilers.
It could be, but it could be. There could be anything, but that's just the talk, the scuttlebutt.
I'm just wondering if it's like what the angle would be of getting to play it early just to drive pre-orders, I guess. But
I mean, they do things a lot in seasons where they release the season, but then they don't release everything. They have a time lock on certain things, so they could have done that. It seems like there's something where they're clearly going to announce something at the Game Awards that you can get access to right away. That just seems to be what makes the most sense.
Third-person 3D mode. It's behind the shoulder.
I'm fine with the Diablo or top. I'm fine with it. Of course, I would definitely play it if it was third person.
It's weird because the most recent season, maybe it was the last two seasons, I don't know, because they made some changes to the rogue, and I only ever play rogue. I don't have an interest in any of the characters, but it's weird because I liked the changes on paper for the rogue, but when I played it, I couldn't find a build I liked, and it's weird. That's that much.
That's one of my biggest problems with the game is the way the builds work. They're going to be changing that. I think in the second expansion they're going to revamp how builds work, and they're going to take out all the power from the armor the items and put that into the skill tree. So the skill tree modifies your skills as opposed to your items, which is how Diablo 3 functioned. And I would like that much better because the builds right now, it's like if you want to get into Torment 4 into Diablo 4, you have to find a build online. One of those Icy Veins or whatever those websites are that have all those builds. They're pretty complex, and if you don't do it specific kind of way, it's hard for you to progress in the higher difficulty stuff.
Yeah, I don't like that because I only ever want to play trap builds, and there's never
never
have a good trap build.
That's the thing. If I'm playing a sorcerer or something, I want to get all the ice abilities. I just want to focus all on ice. But you can't get all the builds are you have to take this and this and combo it with this, and it's just these weird combinations of skills. It's no, I just want to be thematic and I just want to do all frost skills. But it doesn't. It bothers me. The build crafting in that game kind of. And also, if they have builds, they should just, in the game, they should just say, you want to go this build? Here it is. Take this, and then these are your skills. I don't want to go through and figure out what to put all these Paragon points in. It's not really why I play the game. So,
do we have any listener questions?
I was going to talk also about, yes, we do, but I was also going to mention another video game that I started playing that I want to recommend.
Games I've played, though.
You go.
I'll do mine first because I've been playing Pokemon.
Big surprise.
I have almost done with my first ever Pokemon Emerald run. I've been using it, Visual Aid again. I've been playing this way too much. Look how small this is. I can't get over how small this thing is. So much power behind it. But play this every day. Keep it in my pocket. It's my everyday carry. That's a big retro gamer, handheld gamer thing. What's your everyday carry? This is my everyday carry. I watch too many YouTube videos. My cell phone. I've been bugging Joel from Drive Thru Review because he was giving me advice on my Thor, which I was late to order, so now I won't get it till January because they're doing like a second batch right now. I should have just bought it when I wanted it because I would have had it by now. But it gives me time to finish up some Game Boy Advance stuff before getting into the DS. But yeah, Pokemon Emerald, fantastic. And since I'm close to finishing it, it got me to check out the ROM hack everyone's been raving about lately called Pokemon Lazarus. And it's like a Grecian-inspired area. Like the map is kind of based on Greece. Really cool though. The individual, I'm not sure who did the actual ROM hack, but it's incredible. They spent a lot of time to make the graphics look amazing. The battle sequences are so improved because there's animations for all the Pokemon and stuff. And if you're into Pokemon, just check it out. It's a really easy process to get it on any emulator. Really cool game, but that's been my recent obsession.
Is that so I'm going to interrupt?
It's quiet now. It's muted. So.
The other video game thing I was going to mention before we get into the listener questions was I didn't even know why I missed this, but I love the Octopath Traveler games. I played 1 and 2 all the way through, and I loved them. I thought they were great. There's Octopath Traveler 0 just came out, and I didn't even hear about it until a few days ago. But there was a demo prologue you could play for free on Switch, and I think probably other consoles as well. But I downloaded it because I wanted to try it out. It's a little different than the other Octopath Traveler games. It's not usually the Octopath Traveler games. You have like 8 set characters that you choose between. You can play a 4 in a party, but you play through all their storylines, and that's the whole Octopath because there's 8 different paths in the game to play through. But they have the same classes as each game had the same class. It was like cleric, apothecary, thief, scholar, dancer. What's that shopkeeper one? The merchant, hunter. And I probably missed one.
These are from the first one, or are you saying this is
This is from the first 2 games. Yeah. But in this new game, you make your own character. You still pick one of those classes, and you can unlock all of them, but you pick one to start with. And the game is about like your village getting destroyed, and you are going out to rebuild the village. And so you have a town that you're building up from nothing, and you make your character, and then you just go on these adventures. At the beginning of the game, there's 3 different paths to choose to follow. There's the fame, wealth, and power, and those are all represented by a villain. And so you're going to basically, those villains are responsible for destroying your town, so you're going to go get revenge on these, but you're also pursuing these paths of like you're leveling up your power, your wealth. Anyway, it's an awesome. I played through the demo and I was like hooked right away, and so I ended up buying the game, and I'm playing that now, and it's awesome.
Are you playing on Switch or
on Switch? So if you're a fan of Octopath Traveler, I would recommend checking that one out. You can play the demo for free. You get like 3 hours of playtime.
Is it Switch 2 or is it just a Switch compatible?
They have both. Oh. They have both. I obviously bought the Switch 2 version. I think there was some visual upgrades in Octopath Traveler 2 that aren't in this game. I didn't notice. I think it looks great. It plays great. And it was only $50, so it's like $10 cheaper than normal, which is weird because the game is actually long. It's like 100 plus hours, so it's a long game. I guess there was a mobile game that this game basically is just taking all that from that mobile game and putting it in a new game. So if you've played the mobile game, I forget what it was called. Like something.
It was like Heroes of whatever the continent is, like Gallia or something. Or
well, yeah, I never played it, luckily, so it's all new to me.
I'm basing that off of what I heard on a podcast, so I don't know.
But yeah, Octopath Traveler 0, check it out if you're in. It's Square Enix. It's their whole 2D, 3D, like 2D sprites in a 3D environment. It looks really nice. If you've played Octopath Traveler or Triangle Strategy, it's much like that. So
I'll also mention the 4-player Cosmic Invasion Marvel.
Oh yeah, that game's awesome.
I was listening to the Earthborn podcast, and Evan Simonet, who's the artist that did my first 2 covers for the Malice of Light, and the book 2 of Relic. He's the visual design director at Earthborn Games, but he's a huge beat 'em up fan as well. So we were chatting about it because on the podcast he mentioned how him and his friend were playing it. They played the Streets of Rage 4, that company did, and then the Turtles, Shredder's Revenge, and they just got the Cosmic Invasion. But I was thinking about how we were playing with Scotty. Scott McFall and people who know him from Blacklist days, but we were playing 3-player on Switch, and then, or are you on Switch? I forget. Yeah, it's cross platform. But then we kept getting a 4th party random person drawing,
which is weird because I was starting a friends game, and it's like I'm not friends with these people.
Yeah, but that game is nuts. Playing 4-player, just so much going on. But it's a great game. Awesome.
Yeah, I've already beat it. I beat it the first day, like, played through it, but it's still fun to play through. Like, they do a good job where all the characters, there's like 15 characters in the game, and they all feel pretty different when you're playing them. I hope they do DLC with more characters, because it's a really fun game.
I need to unlock Silver Surfer still.
I would love to play like Cyclops in that game. That'd be awesome. So,
listener questions.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I gotta pull my phone up for that. All right, so
I have to reply to my daughter who's texting me and interrupting my screen up there,
distracting me from listener questions. All right, podcast questions. We actually had quite a few here. Let me check these. Okay. So Zeke asked, one of our very important playtesters, I know you probably can't answer this yet, but with a new announcement, this is about Twin Tail Studios acquiring Hour of Need
some games
and Brook City. What plans do you have in store for Brook City and Hour of Need? Is the plan to release expansions and reprint the original boxes, or are you thinking of doing something closer to Sentinels of the Multiverse Definitive Edition, and with maybe a restructuring of what the content in each expansion while adding and updating things? Now, I had some things to say about this myself, so I can start if you don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, all this. I'll just say all this is preliminary, because we have other things on our plate right now. I'm motioning to the Mouse Light Adventures, but yeah, we have some ideas.
So we do have plans for, ideally with Hour of Need, we would not be repackaging it. We would just be rebranding it, like putting our logo on the box and everything like that, but releasing
maybe a new logo of the game.
maybe some graphic design tweaks, we're not sure, but ideally the game, we don't think, got a good enough release in the first place. So it only printed like a couple thousand copies, I think. I don't know. It wasn't even that big of a print run, so a lot of people didn't even get it. So I don't think it's worth us reinvesting a whole new product model. So ideally we would release that one as is, with some rebranding tweaks. Now, in a perfect world, we'll be able to get this straight into distribution without having to do a crowdfunding thing, but that all depends on a lot of factors, especially like how well Mouse Light Adventures does. If Mouse Light Adventures did crazy, like, oh, we just made $1 million on this campaign, then we would for sure take Hour of Need and just put it into retail as is, just rebranded with our logo and everything. That would be ideal, because the game is great and we want to make it available to everybody. That's the goal. With Brook City, like we talked about last time, I think we would be looking at doing a new edition of that at some point, but we're not sure when.
I don't think I know. We're not going to be able to print it as is, and even the work we'd have to put into like making it a reprintable would be it's better just to make a new edition. So we have the assets, we have the branding, we will take that and we will make a new game inspired by the spirit of what Brook City was, like what we think people liked about it, and we'll probably take a lot of opinions. We'll take community feedback about what that game looks like to them, like what they like about it, because we had a conversation with Scotty while we were playing Marvel Cosmic Invasion, like, because Scotty loved Brook City when it came out, and like, what'd you like about it? What should we do differently? What should we change? What should we keep? So we'll have those conversations. But
I would say he liked it. I don't know if he loved it.
Well, maybe I'm conflating that, because Richard Lanius loved it.
Loved Brook City?
Yeah, loved it. He made his own expansions for it stuff. And
one thing about Hour of Need is like I said before, where we kind of built that IP game from the ground up. Like, we were involved in that. Brook City was a lot of things that were out of our hands, as opposed to all these pop culture references for stretch goals and all that stuff. Like,
I'll give you two examples, because Gus Ferguson was a Guy Fieri. I thought it was just funny because I was using a prototype and I used a picture of Guy Fieri.
Yeah, it was a joke.
Yeah, it was a joke. And then our team took it and ran with it. And then same with Dennis as the theater guy. Like, I forget his name in the game, but
I totally forgot he was in that.
Those were not supposed to be in the game. Like, he looked more like Orlando Bloom though, and a lot of those art pieces. So we'll do. We might use some of those art pieces just for like extra things, but we'll do our own characters and everything like that. So it'll be a more cohesive theme.
Blackheart Paladin had a follow-up question to that. Another one of our good playtesters is, did you guys also get the molds for everything when you got the licenses, or will you guys have to do new molds made? Mainly ask since I know molds are an expensive part of game creation, and that would have to then get money for those molds again for the initial reprint of either IP. So we did, for Hour of Need, that was part of the negotiations where one of the reasons we made this deal with the amount of money involved was because we got the molds for it, and because we want to reprint Hour of Need as is, as far as like the product goes. Like while we want to change some of the graphics of the logos and like that, that's easy, swapping out files. But the molds, the trays and all that stuff, like we want that product as is, and those were all with the factory we're working with now for Malice-Light Adventures. So it makes sense from us, from business perspective, from a business side, where we can work with the same factory for both games. That was one of the main reasons we did that. For Brook City, that was a different factory, and again, we're not interested in some of those miniatures anyway. So like we did not get the molds for that, which is fine. That wasn't a concern of ours. So that is another factor of why we would do a new edition of Brook City, because we would be doing new molds anyway. So we decided it makes sense for us to be able to start fresh on that one. So that's a good question, and that gives you a little behind the curtains of why we made that deal and why we made those decisions. Anything you want to add to that?
No, that's pretty much it. I mean, most of that's production talk. That's kind of your department anyway. So
he also asked Adam, how much did you want to smack Brady for his teaser announcement? Just a little bit.
Which one?
Just a little bit.
Which one?
Derek, more questions to follow up the announcement. Would expansions for Brook City, like the Tease Supernatural one, be standalone?
Well, going forward, like depending on what we do with with Brook City, I don't imagine we'll do standalone much, because what we want to do is, I don't know if this will fall on the same line, but like we're talking about before, I would love to make it a Relic Myers adventure game with a cool universal system we apply to any setting. Like if we could make a standardized system we like, and we just make games following that standard. Like for example, the whole MDS thing, we started off thinking about doing like an MDS literal system, like a set of mechanics that was, applicable over several different themes. If we do the same thing, then yeah, we could do something like that where the standalone things are different themes. Here's the Relic Myers game, here's the Brook City game. These could be combined, but you don't have to. The similar mechanics. So those discussions will be ongoing, but I don't think we'll be doing like a Brook City game line with individual standalone expansions. Ideally, it would just be like, here's the core game, and you can buy these modules that will go into the.
I will say one of the downsides with Hour of Need with those standalone expansion model is that you get duplicates of so many tokens you don't need.
Token bloat, yeah.
It's just, I mean, the dice it's nice to get extra dice. Nobody's complaining about that. Like that's one of the benefits. But you're getting multiple rule books, multiple tokens, all these things you don't need. They're just also more expensive to produce. Yeah, so there's a lot of downsides to the.
I think it's good to have the core game plus maybe a 1-2 player starter thing for like just mass market, but not that many different, because like it's just every time you buy an expansion, you'll just have to like either throw away a bunch of tokens, which just feels bad, or just have to find storage for them. And it's like so. Depending on what the system looks like for Brook City, I would ideally just make it so it's concise expansions that just go into the core game,
A reclusive mind asks, going off of this Brook City theme here, is if you were to redesign a Brook City 2.0, where do you see the most opportunities for improvements in the design?
Just less card tracking. Like there's too many cards in play. That was like a lot of our earlier designs. That what it came down to, just too many cards to check. We wouldn't rely as much on the whole tableau building, because like that was one thing that Street Masters worked well with, was like you're building a tableau out, you're progressing over the course of the game, but you can capture that without having all these cards coming out in play. And even if you did, we don't need to have the enemy cards or the environment cards doing the same thing,
Honestly, I think with a game like Brook City, I think it's less. There should be less of a focus on upgrading your character as opposed to you're more just like upgrading uncovering the case, like you're keeping a lid on things and get. I think you should be acquiring leads. Like the whole thing, the lead deck was cool in Brook City. Like I feel like there should be more focus on that, where you're getting leads to apply to your case, to do well in the case. Upgrading your character seems a little like it's cool and all, but it doesn't really seem like it's the right thing.
I think there's a way, because like the way I envision it was I didn't have, because I feel like we were doing a lot of Band-Aid work with Brook City, making it work, because we had this formula with Street Masters. We're like, how do we kind of make this work? So it was a lot of like Band-Aid fixes, but I think like coming at it fresh, I think the idea being is you have a case, and the case is getting like attacked by timer, whatever it is, like the case is getting attacked. So you want to kind of build out your case like by applying evidence to it. So I imagine having a tableau building thing where you have your case over here and you're putting cards into it, and the cards are allowing you to like divert some of the negative things going into the case, put some of this on the evidence instead. So you're kind of spreading out the damage as opposed to just taking it on the case. So looking at it that way, you have a lot more freedom with like how the interaction between the player components and the case and the villain, you just keep those kind of separate.
But I think the simplest way to say is we wouldn't lock ourselves into the MDS format. Yeah. That's how we would improve the design. Like there are lots of things we could do, and we have lots of ideas for it. But one of the downsides for most of our games at Blacklist was locking ourselves into this MDS format unnecessarily. Yeah. So that's one of the Malside Adventures is a great example of breaking free of that format by keeping some things that we like about it, some elements.
Yeah, on our recent update, go read the preview number 5 they just posted, because someone commented and they kind of echoed my own thoughts, because they were excited to see the update of how we spelled out how the villain works and everything, and they're like, wow, this takes so many different like small elements from the other designs and puts it in a new streamlined format. And it's like, that's the way we want to kind of design. We like taking things that we've done in the past that work and not reinventing the wheel, but just improving the pieces that do work and making them work in a new environment. So like, it's just, that's how we like to iterate, and it's just constant improvement.
All right, Blackheart Paladin says, you may have answered this previously, but I can't remember. How do you plan to designate different enemy colors in Malside Adventures, using plastic rings like your previous designs or something else? Really looking forward to an awesome painted version of the game for the GameFound page. I remember being super impressed with Alter Quest when I believe Adam and his wife painted, if I remember correctly. Yes, we did paint those for Alter Quest. For Malside Adventures, because the minions are tokens, we're doing it with tokens, the token colors.
Yeah, and it's not just colors though. Chris made these really cool little like different shaped gems, and also the tokens themselves will be different shaped. So even if like you have problem distinguishing colors, if you're color blindness, you'll still be able to see the shapes. So it's really easy to tell which enemy is what with the cards. So
if we were to do miniatures for minions, if we were to do that, they would be colored miniatures.
We would always lean toward. Yeah, we don't like the ring thing. That was never a solution we enjoyed. Painting's fine, so you can paint whatever color you want and indicate them, but we would always lean to like colored plastics or something just to make it easy to tell them apart.
Brady, this is a request from Blackheart Paladin. He asks if you could go through and actually say all the character names from the game so I can hear the correct pronunciation, because I've definitely been saying Dana's name wrong since the beginning.
All of them?
I've always said Dina, but you said it was Dana.
Yeah.
So I think he means the heroes.
Oh, yes.
Well, actually, maybe the heroes and the
villains. Dana is the easy one, because it is like just a different spelling of Dana, like D-A-N-A. Because like if you deign to do something, like that's D-E-I-G-N, right? Deign. I deigned to. It's kind of the same pronunciation.
You would say Avram, not Avram.
Yeah. Well, it's weird because like it's like Adam. Like Avram, Adam. Like it's A-V-A-D.
Who would say Adam?
What's that?
Who would say Adam?
Nobody. I'm just saying. I was agreeing with you. Because like
I thought you were saying they'd be.
I've heard some people say Avram, but yeah, it's intended to be Avram, but it's like any name. It's like people can pronounce it different.
Now Rancil, like
Rancil, Basil, Rancil.
Okay.
And then Melane, yeah, which you'll hear in the books pronounced Melanie. It's not, it's Melane, but I mean people have it's like Elaine but with an M on the front, Melane. And then there's Findra is one of the villains. Corvana, Ithacan. Have we revealed these?
No. But if you listen to the podcast, you get a little teaser.
Yeah, Ithacan and
Gulick.
Yeah, which you can pronounce however you want. It's meant to be a guttural Gulick, like it's an orc name. So,
all right. Zeke says one of the best aspects of your games is your unique hero decks. Grab a deck and get to play a completely different play style from any other hero. Have you ever considered making the heroes customizable? For example, 30-card deck, but you can only bring 15 of those to the game, so you can pick and choose your play style of the fighter, leaning more direction depending on circumstances. No, I would say no.
No, I think in a more serious response is like we would do that for like a game that has like a campaign where you're like upgrading cards, so you can choose what like path you're upgrading. But I don't like deck customization like Magic the Gathering, or I love card games, but I don't like building decks. I'll always
it kind of defeats the purpose of what we go for with those pre-built decks. Like that's the whole benefit is you can just pick up the deck and go. Yeah. And that's not to like say anything negative about the other way.
We're just too dumb to build decks.
we try to design the games from a like a lot of I've heard people like criticize us for this, where we're like too concerned about making the game too quick to set up and play, where people want some crunch or whatever. But like that's kind of what we go for, is we want to make a game that's easy to play. Like you just get it out of the box and get playing as quick as possible. Not saying it's the best way for everybody, but that's kind of how we approach the games usually, where it's like
we honestly push to get Street Masters to not have those story decks, because like even the fact of like pulling out your hero deck and have to set aside your upgrade cards, it was too much for me. I was like, that's too much work. Let's just cut that. But we ended up doing it just because people were excited about it. So
I apologize for pronouncing this name, Spiniet, Spiniet. Since you are in contact with Alex Lim, do you think that Dire Alliance backers will ever get to see their pledge? Thank you.
They better.
I will say we have no idea. Like,
yeah, it's hard to tell.
But I will be honest with you guys here. Like, we're being transparent, stuff like that. Part of the reason we did this deal for Hour of Need and for Brook City was because we were told by Alex that he's trying to fulfill Dire Alliance and that this would help him in that attempt. Now, we have nothing in writing that contractually obligates him to do that, because that's nothing we can control.
Yeah. All we can control is we paid money for the rights to these games, being told, hey, this deal will help me get this delivered. It's like, oh, great.
And that was motivation for us. We would love to be able to help him deliver the Dire Alliance, but we are not going to say at all, like we're not going to speak for him and say he's going to do it for sure, because that's his responsibility.
And, we've not had good luck with that in the past.
Yeah.
So.
And again, he could have been lying to us and said, he wants this money to pay off his car or something. I don't know, like whatever. We're getting what we want, these games, and we're told that it's going to help him. That's great. That's a motivating factor for us, but we have no proof of that other than what he said. So we're told that he is trying to deliver Dire Alliance. I'm pretty sure there's a stock that exists that's waiting to be delivered, and he needs to finance that somehow.
And I will speak from a personal standpoint. I love that product. I don't have my copy. I want my copy. I keep asking if I can get physical copies so I can see the final product, because I've seen pictures. It looks great. I talked to David Thompson, who had a pre-production copy, and he loves his copy. He plays it with his daughter. I want that game. Like, I want it to exist, so I do whatever I can to make sure that happens. But we're limited on who we can talk to or what kind of information we can get. But I am pushing for it personally because I want it.
And we did get our first what do you call it? Aggressive or accusatory comment on our game found. Someone said, "I can't believe these crooks are back" or whatever. Yeah. And again, I think
they were just mistaken. They thought this was blacklist.
And again, like I want to take any chance we can to just. Not everybody listens to everything we release, and I apologize for beating a dead horse here, but I want to make sure people understand that we started this company because we are not blacklist games. We want to control the games we create, and that is one of the problems. One of the things that bums us out is that we create games that have this shadow of blacklist, and we're trying to do everything we can to make our games available.
Yeah, and if in the process, if we can somehow rectify some of that, great. That's like two birds with one stone, whatever they say. But we just can't guarantee that. We can't say that's what our overall goal is. It's going to be a nice extra thing. We want to make sure we can just go forward and make new games and make them all available and deliver on whatever plans we set, deliver on those. So we can't speak for somebody else, but we're going to try to get that. For that one in particular, I really want to try because I want that game.
And then that's all for the questions. There's some more chatter about Dire Alliance. People are talking about
how cool it was.
Backers got nothing. We still haven't got our copies yet. We're trying to get our copies because we want them, and that includes the backers getting fulfilled as well. So
and if we get ours, we'll happily like do like an unboxing here and kind of show off the final product, even though that might be a negative.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a good thing to do because I don't want to brag if we got our copies and nobody else got theirs.
Yeah. I mean, seeing that it exists though might be nice. People, because I remember there was like a situation where some small store in Greece.
I think someone sent David Thompson. Did you mention that?
No, that was a pre-purchase copy. Yeah, I mentioned he has one.
But someone actually got a copy because and they sent it to David saying, "Hey, I just wanted to give this to you because I saw it was available and you deserve it." So that was nice of him. And he got to play it with his daughter because his daughter loved the game. So
I don't think it's out of the question that game will have a future, but it's something that we just can't speak to personally. I would like to make it happen.
Yes, and if it does get fulfilled, we will do everything we can to make it widely available, like to people. And again, that is, like I said, one of the reasons why we wanted our need anyway. And Brook City was thrown in as a hey, let's put a sweetener on this, and we know people love that game. We'd love to do something new with it, but we were also like, if this could in any way help people get Dire Alliance, then we are happy to help in that regard. But again, we cannot speak for that being the case because it's out of our control. All we can do is we've paid the money for these games, and we were told that it's going to go towards that. So hopefully that's the case. And if it does, great. If it doesn't, we'll still keep trying. We'll do whatever we can to get our games available. So that is what we started this company for. And again, we're going to keep shouting it anytime we can. Anytime anybody confuses us with being Blacklist, we apologize for having to beat a dead horse, but
we would never name our company Blacklist.
One of the worst things about working for Blacklist was the fact that it was the company name.
We have better naming conventions. Come on. So that's episode 12, right? Oh no, 11.
That was episode 12.
Yeah, episode 12. Thanks for joining us.
We'll let you go. A little long, so we'll hop off here.
This is a Christmas gift.
We missed last week, so we're making up for it a little bit.
We might be back next week if we have demo kits to show off, because I want to show them off, and I want you to show them off and share them on your social media.
Yes, even if you don't want to look at our faces, maybe we'll do it at a table or something.
We can do it afterward. I can superimpose it like in the.
Sure. Yeah. We'll
figure something out.
We'll show you the video. So
thanks for joining us. Catch you later.
See you guys.